My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And if you're saying, why are Judd and AJ pumping out a Judd's Hockey Show on a Sunday on the glorious last day of the regular season in the National Football League, I'll tell you why. Because if the Wild's going to play as well as they did on this quick 2-game jaunt to Washington and then Carolina, then we are going to work equally as hard. AJ, just a big old wow. So this was it's a tough trip. The Capitals have been great. They came back on Saturday, beat the Rangers. The Wild beats them in a shootout 4-3. That was impressive. But then what happened last night against a Carolina team that's as well coached and, again, a very good team was more impressive. 4-0. Just, I don't know what other word to use than domination. I mean, the Wild went into a tough building, and I thought in every way, shape, and form took it to a team that has the best penalty kill in the entire league, the 6th best power play, and also averages the most shots per game. And they were held to, if I'm not mistaken, 20 shots in the entire game and 3 in the third period. And you know where I thought it started? I thought it started when Jules Eriksson early in the first period takes not a 2-minute, but a 4-minute high-sticking penalty. And you think to yourself, oh, God, this power play against that PK, and the Wild gives up 1 shot on goal. And from there on out, I thought that they absolutely owned that game. Probably as impressive a game as they have played in a very successful season to date. Probably as impressive a game as the Wild has played all season long.
Yeah, especially given the circumstances, right? Without Kirill Kaprizov still, Jake Middleton still out, Jared Spurgeon still out. I expected them to play probably better than what we had seen a couple weeks ago, based on what we saw against the Capitals a few days ago, midweek. But yesterday was just what a surprise and a pleasant one at that, Judd. They really set the tempo early. Filip Gustavsson, I want to first off mention how good he was, especially in that first period, because there was multiple chances where I feel like Seth Jarvis was like breathing down his neck, and he just stopped him stone cold. So Gustavsson immediately earned that shutout, but put them in a position early on to where, all right, let's get one here quick, and then let's start rolling. And the thing I noticed here is maybe this is like a market thing. Maybe this is just difference of, regime. So like the fans are used to it, but the Hurricanes, they're a team that puts up 30 to 40 shots a game. They put up 40 shots, I think, in a loss midweek to the Jets. I think a 3-1 loss. Mm-hmm. The fans there in the first period were booing them on the power play because they weren't rushing to funnel the puck to the net as much. That's got to be frustrating. Not even 20 minutes in, as the home crowd getting jeered by your fans. And it's like, okay, guys, what do you want us to do? Like, we're playing statistically one of the best goalies in the league right now. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we haven't scored yet. But they looked fantastic. And I think I'm sure the main topic of the show is going to be how the top line drove the win. But I wanted to get it off the ground that Filip Gustavsson earned the shutout, but also looked fantastic last night. And he continues to be one of, if not the biggest surprises, I think, for me this season, with just how good he's been.
So I think the key thing to me, too, in both of the games, the wins against the Capitals and now the Hurricanes, is this. Before we get to the first line, mm-hmm. They are back to playing, and this was a exhibit of it to perfection. A harder game again and a north-south game again. They looked like, especially last night, but Washington for periods as well, they looked like they were a pain in the ass to play against. And to go on the road and play that game, that's coaching too. Mm-hmm. But that dovetails perfectly into the conversation of the first line, because welcome back to the party, Matt Boldy. Nice to have you back. This is you. This is how you can play. But Rossi, coming off the really strong game and the key goal against Washington a couple nights ago, 4 assists. No goals, but who cares? Yeah. Zuccarello, 2 goals and an assist on that top line. And then Boldy scored off a beautiful stretch pass on a breakaway pass from Rossi, added 2 assists. So that first line, and as you said, sans Kaprizov, accounts for 10 points, accounts for 3 goals, and Rossi, who we praised on the last JHS after the Washington game on Friday, continues to play absolutely fantastic. But I got to admit, I did not see them winning. I believe it's now 4 or 5 without Kaprizov.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 5-game stretch, Marco Rossi accounting for 9 points.
Yeah, if you want to draw the fence, the goalpost a little bit more gratuitous towards him over the last 3 games, 8 points. He's been fantastic. 3-point night on New Year's Eve against Nashville, the goal against the Capitals, and then 4 last night. I think it's maybe this is weird. I don't expect the line, like that top line, even without Kaprizov, to score 3 or 4 goals like they did last night every single night. But also, given how they played, why can't they? Like, it's when Boldy looks engaged like he was the past couple of nights, to your point from a few shows ago, he drives the line. He's a bigger guy. You saw the speed on the breakaway, but also just like the way that he will crash the offensive zone on the forecheck. He's able to help set up that offensive zone possession. Marco Rossi, I mean, he's been an unbelievable playmaker for this team, I think, most of the season. It's really blossoming now without Kaprizov, and kind of the spotlight's looking for somebody to really stay locked on. And Mats Zuccarello, I know maybe we both shared the same opinion that coming off his injury, he looked a little off his game, so to speak, and kind of just had to work back into it. The last game or two, he has looked really, really good. This first line has the skill. They have the potential to do that, I think, on a nightly basis. So why not do that every single night? But I think it also speaks to you're going to have a little bit of depth there. But when you put up, I'm trying to look here. They combined for, I think, a little over only a goal expected, which is weird, that top line. They're still getting the bounces. They're still willing the puck into the net. That's, I think, speaks for itself. And they look
playing hard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They look engaged.
That's what the issue, in my opinion, a little bit with like goals expected, which is a fine stat.
Yeah.
But I think the issue there is it can't take into account how you play.
Mm-hmm.
So like you watched that game last night and you saw a team that all 4 lines played hard. Like the defense played hard. Like there is a difference when I say play hard. If you watched that game, or the cliche north-south as well, you saw that. Like they were a pain to play against, and that creates opportunities. And more importantly, and we've seen this with the Wild at home where they don't play as well, but when teams come in and play like the Wild played last night, it takes away your will to play. Because like that's a tough game. If you've got a team that's willing to play the majority of 3 periods like the Wild did last night, it gets to be very difficult, very trying, and I think because there's so much structure to the game, very frustrating. So suddenly your chances go up because you are literally frustrating the opponent and creating chances. And the success of the first line, watching them, and they didn't account for the statistical greatness that they did last night against the Capitals, but they still were damn good. And I think age part of the conversation here is this too. You all of a sudden have no excuse for not having 2 lines that can score when Kaprizov comes back.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if you want to leave these 3 together, and move Kaprizov with Ek and call that your first line, and I'm willing to bet, I'm sure that they'll put Zuccarello back. But my point is that gives you some combination of 2 lines that can provide exactly what you need consistently. And before Kaprizov went out, we weren't seeing that, in part because Boldy left the party and now he's back. So like, this is the thing. It's great to see, but it also exposes the fact that there is a very realistic world where we talk about that, that Kirill Kaprizov is back. And now you've got 2 lines that can help to carry you, not just 1 line.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone, like learning to ride a bike, you needed help getting off the ground. You needed help rolling. So you're going to have that kind of stabilizing push until you finally get your feet pedaling. That seems like if Boldy's going to move back down to that second line right now, this is that part of, okay, hands are on the bike. They're getting him along. Eventually he's going to start pedaling. And hopefully that's the time when Kaprizov comes back, he can get moved back down and he can drive the bike himself. He can drive the line himself, because we were seeing that earlier in the year, but now this little stint seems to be enough to get him out of that rut and back on the bike. And a 3-point night, on a very, very impressive road trip. He's looked good lately, and I think that's going to be enough to where if you throw him back down there, now you also have Joel Eriksson Ek back. That's not like you're having a Ryan Hartman or a Freddie.
That's what I'm saying. Is you're not putting anyone with a center who it's like, oh well, of course they're not going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And if you felt that there was a chemistry with Rossi and Boldy, you could put Ek. Before he got hurt, he was playing with Zook and Kaprizov. So, yes, it's not as if you're demoting Boldy. Oh, well, now he's going to be on a line that's not as good. Yeah. How about on the blue line last night? I want to give you 2 time on ice statistics from last night.
Please.
Brodin played 28-38. And Brock Faber, again, 30 minutes and 33 seconds. Just absolutely incredible. And may I say this, he's not scoring a bunch, but everything I've seen in the World Juniors where the U.S. goes for the gold tonight against Finland, Zeev Buium looks like Faber Jr.
That has been it's been both super annoying, but also super fun to watch because on one side, you have the box score merchants that look and they're like, well, he hasn't gotten on the score sheet, Judd. I don't think he's having that great. If you watch the games, this matter. Is back to your eye test thing. He's passing everything. Yeah. He is so smooth with the puck. Like in some of the game yesterday against Czechia, just how quickly he's able to pick up a loose puck that maybe is like a 50-50. Are they going to hold the zone? If not, he's able to pinch low on the boards, take possession, settle the puck, transition with speed down low, and then feed the puck out front for a scoring chance in the blink of an eye. I can't wait for that. That is realistically going to be on the Minnesota Wild blue line by the end of this season going into the playoffs. That's going to be such a big advantage. And he has looked incredible. And whether or not some of the, I guess, physicality stuff that I know they wanted to work on with him, how much that's coming along is to be seen a little bit. I haven't watched his game as closely here with just the entire scope of hockey over the season, but
he just got a smoothness though. There's
that's the thing.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
If he just looks incredible with the puck. He's a great puck handler. I wouldn't be surprised come when he does eventually join, if they don't immediately throw him on power play unit 2 or even 1, just to try him out after seeing what he can do in the initial practices. He's that good with it and quarterback a special teams unit that well.
But Faber continuing to be and I mean, to his credit, Brodin as well, with Spurgeon out, Middleton out, minutes eating monster out there to play that much. And all of a sudden then your secondary guys, the fact that they're probably have been promoted a little bit too high, which is always my concern, doesn't affect you as much because these guys are just playing so much. And to be clear here, I guess in fairness, Declan Chisholm is playing very well, I think, too. So he deserves, and Bogosian stepped up. But when you got a guy, 2 guys between them, 58 plus minutes in a game in Carolina, again, a tough environment to play in. There's a lot here, these past 2 games especially, and they're now, or the Wild's now won 3 consecutive games. They're 2 points behind the Jets, with a game in hand in the Central Division. But there is a lot to absolutely love. And I've got one more thing, but before I do that, I want to get to something the Sports Dad loves, and of course, that is a good beer. And the official beer of the Sports Dad, Padregs. Padregs, absolutely fantastic. And you're asking yourself, okay, Sports Dad, why? Why do you say that? And I'm going to tell you very simply, because all they brew is beer. They don't have a bunch of ancillary. They don't have this division and that division. They have one division, and I like to call it the delicious beer division, and it works. I've been talking about their red for quite some time, but they've got a Irish Porter, Irish Dry Stout, English IPA, English Pale Ale. I could go down their list, and guess what? They are, in my opinion, when it comes to beer, 4 lines deep. That's right, 4 lines deep. Absolutely outstanding. They also have a new distribution deal in place, so 6-packs now available. I'll just rattle off a few of the spots for you. Lunds and Byerly's, Kowalski's, Haskell's, Hy-Vee, Total Wine, Cub, MGM, and most independent stores as well in the greater metro area, and Rochester carry it as well, I should say, at liquor stores. So Padregs, check them out. and make sure you give them a try. You will not be disappointed. All right, the last thing I got for you is this, and it's so the Wild is going to come home now to play a couple of games this week, beginning with St. Louis on Tuesday night, and then I believe they've got Colorado on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
They are now, Age, on the road 15-3-3. 15-3-3. They at home are 10-8-1. And I think we can agree, both having been at a bunch of the home games, they have been very ordinary at home. They look like a very ordinary team. On the road, like last night, incredibly impressive. How do you even get to, like, ordinarily this conversation is, how does a really good home team go on the road and play well? How does a really good road team come home and at least be more than 2 games above, 2 games above 500? And if you really give them that 10-8-1, they are, in the real world, 1 game above 500 at the X.
Well, the good news is, out of the 12 remaining games here in January, they're only at home for 5 of them. So better often than not, they're going to finish the rest of this month above 500. It's so weird. It's such a weird predicament. I don't know if you have maybe seen this in past years with other just maybe Minnesota sports teams where it's just like they just love to be on the road, and it's weird because they had that super long stint at the start of the season on the road, and that was impressive. And I think everybody was like, This is a surprise. This is great. But then you expect them to come home and not miss a beat, and that's been pretty much the exact opposite case. They've been very ordinary, to steal your term there. It's not like they have an extended home stint, I want to say, until after the Four Nations face-off. I think they have actually into March here. They don't have more than 2 consecutive games at home until March 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 22. So an 8-game homestand in the middle of March.
I hate these schedules, by the way. Yes, I do. You should never be home for 8 in a row. You should play 7 in a row on the road.
That's insane. And then you go on the road once for Dallas and then come back immediately for a back-to-back against Vegas. And then you're home against Washington, where Ovi will break the record. And then the Devils on the 29th.
And in March, the building is full. State high school tournaments, too. Right?
High school tournament. There's concerts coming through.
Yeah, I don't know how you have time for that. But
bull riding convention.
I digress.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's weird. Like it really, because everything that I've been told as a sports fan growing up is that in your building, in your stadium, in your arena, you should have the advantage. You should have that home feeling. Like you know the facilities, you know the door people when you go in through security when you first enter, you know the rink attendants, you know all that stuff. You know the temperature, like nothing should be thrown off. The air quality is the same.
Right.
They just can't, I guess, make anything of that. And if you want to be successful, I think later, and I think this shows once again where the bar has risen for this team to where we're getting nitpicky about how good they are at home. If you want to be successful, especially in the playoffs, you're going to have to win home games. You can't just go 500 and resort to trying to outmuster the Stars down in Dallas. You have to win games.
And you're going to be home right now to open. Like you're going to have home ice advantage. Can you decline it?
Can they opt to just start the game on the power play? And I don't know.
We'll just start on the road. That's fine. We'll just go to X, Y, or Z building. We're fine with that. It's just it's very bizarre because when you watch this team at home, it's just not consistently the same team. They get off to slow starts. Like that team last night started. I mean, there was never a question from the beginning of that game last night that they were there to play. And it's not like it's a crappy opponent, so it's like, well, of course they were there. They were going to beat up on them. They weren't going to beat up on them. It was a really good team, and and they were there to play. And I guess if you could do one thing, I think the question is, how do you get off to better starts and not go through those lulls? They seem to have a lot more lulls, as if they lose their focus at home. Can they just check into the St. Paul Hotel for the rest of the season?
Can we just reserve a floor and make it like a college dorm where it's like
that's what I'm saying.
Wild are only on the 3rd floor?
Tell the wife and kids you'll be home when the Stanley Cup's done. you'll easily make it for the 4th of July, but the rest of the time is going to be devoted to playing. So yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, the only other team, and I was just kind of scrolling here.
Yeah.
The only other team that's like relatively similar to that is the Colorado Avalanche, who at one point were missing like 95% of their main roster due to injuries. But they're 11-8-1 at home, 13-7-0 on the road, so it's a little worse than what the Wild are doing. But for the most part, it matches up pretty closely compared to everybody else. Like I guess on one side they could be like the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are 13-5-3 at home, but then they're 4-12-3 on the road.
Yeah,
so
no, I'm just saying they are one when they're playing well, they're good.
yes,
The Wild's good.
but I would like that to be harnessed and maybe taken to another level.
And I'm not saying that they have to be as good at home, but like a lot of the things that we have seen these last 2 games, and you know what? That beginning of the season, 7-game stretch was impressive. And we saw a lot of really good things there. I'm just curious how you harness those things, because in asking them to do so, it's not asking them to do something they can't do. We've seen them do it, in fact, in a tougher environment. That's all.
I've got a suggestion for you, because if this continues and like we get to the end of January and there's still the next 4 games or whatever that I said that are at home this month, they kind of go 2-2. What football team was it that made the coach made the players sleep in the end zone to like? Maybe that was a college team, but like I remember the coach made the players come and sleep at the stadium and like have a sleepover essentially. On an off night, the next day, whatever.
I'll just take a hotel.
Something like that.
Put nice hotels around the X.
Put them up in a suite, to just sprawl out across a couple seats. I'm sure Craig and Billy G can get some sleeping bags arranged for the boys. Do something, because they have to feel and play better than they have been at home. Right now, it's fine. It's passable.
Right.
But, a couple extra wins here and there, that's points that are going to be important for seeding come playoff time.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. So a special edition. We've done some Sunday JHSs, but we're doing this one because, damn it, they played so hard on Saturday. We said we're going to get up and grind on Sunday. Be back on our regularly scheduled day, going back to Tuesdays with Jesse Pierce. Perhaps we'll talk about the home and road splits. Perhaps we'll talk about do you now have some wiggle room with Kaprizov? If they're going to continue to play this well, it makes you feel really good about allowing him to, for a little while, rest that groin, which we all would like to see him back. But if they're going to play this well, it would be really nice once he comes back to almost be certain that he stays back, because that groin or that issue is completely healed at that point. But for now, we are done. I'm Judd. He's AJ. Talk to you soon.